I can change musicians whenever I like, and it tends to get into a format, you know, because we were together much longer than the public knew us. You know, it wasn't just from '64.
Picture John Lennon in 1980, standing in a dimly lit club as a quirky, electrifying song washes over him. It's the B-52s, Rock Lobster, and it's about to spark a creative fire he thought was lost. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. From Led Zeppelin's raw power to the Beach Boys' soulful harmonies, Lennon loved 5 bands that shaped his music and his heart. What hidden stories connect these legends to his legacy? Join us to find out. What made John Lennon, a musical icon whose influence still echoes, pause and take notice of other artists? Known for his sharp wit and unfiltered opinions, Lennon rarely handed out praise, but when he did, it carried weight. Among the countless bands that rose in the wake of the Beatles, 5 stood out as his all-time favorites, each sparking something deep within him. 2 of these, Electric Light Orchestra and the B-52s, not only caught his ear, but shaped his creative journey in unexpected ways. Let's dive into the music that moved a legend and uncover the stories behind his admiration. In the vibrant, experimental world of 1970s rock, few bands mirrored the Beatles' boundary-pushing spirit, like Electric Light Orchestra or Yellow. Formed in Birmingham, England by Jeff Lynne, Roy Wood, and Bev Bevan, Yellow set out to weave classical music's grandeur with rock's raw energy, a vision that echoed the Beatles' later, genre-defying work. This bold ambition didn't go unnoticed. Lennon, ever attuned to the evolving music scene even after the Beatles' breakup, found himself captivated. Could a band truly carry forward the legacy he helped create? Yellow, it seems, came remarkably close. During a candid 1974 radio interview with Dennis Elsas on New York's WNEW-FM, Lennon didn't hold back his admiration. He dubbed Yellow the Sons of the Beatles, a phrase that resonated deeply in the music world. Coming from Lennon, this wasn't just flattery, it was a profound nod to their artistry. He was particularly struck by their 1973 single, Showdown, calling it a great record for its tight groove and lush production. "I was expecting it to be number 1, he remarked, frustrated that its label, United Artists, didn't push it harder. Why did this song resonate so strongly with him? Showdown is a sonic gem, blending bluesy soul with orchestral pop. It kicks off with a haunting electric piano riff, pulling listeners into a moody, almost cinematic atmosphere. Jeff Lynne's smooth, plaintive vocals glide over a commanding rhythm section, while Yellow's signature strings add a layer of grandeur. The lyrics, steeped in romantic tension, carry a universal ache, delivered with a polish that felt both accessible and sophisticated. For Lennon, known for his own meticulous studio craft, this balance of innovation and emotion struck a chord. It wasn't just a song, it was a continuation of the musical exploration he championed. Lennon's praise did more than boost Yellow's ego. It helped cement their credibility at a time when progressive rock often faced critical skepticism. Showdown, from their album On the Third Day, marked a pivotal moment, showcasing Lynn's growing prowess as a songwriter and producer. The song's success laid the groundwork for Yellow's string of hits, from Mr. Blue Sky to Don't Bring Me Down. Lennon's endorsement elevated them beyond pop stardom, affirming their place in rock's artistic evolution. And the connection didn't end there. Years later, Jeff Lynne would honor Lennon's legacy by working with George Harrison on the Beatles' anthology project, producing posthumous singles like Free as a Bird and Real Love. These tracks, completed in the 1990s, blended reverence with innovation, qualities Lennon likely would have admired. Even now, in 2025, Yellow's legacy endures, with Jeff Lynne's final tour culminating in a historic Hyde Park performance, a testament to the lasting impact Lennon helped amplify. But what if a song about a sea creature could pull a musical giant back from a 5-year silence? Enter the B-52s, a band whose quirky, colorful energy seems an unlikely match for Lennon's introspective genius. Emerging from Athens, Georgia, in the late 1970s, the B-52s brought a playful, avant-garde edge to the new wave scene. Their 1978 single Rock Lobster was a wild, surreal romp. Think surf guitar riffs, sci-fi sound effects, and absurdly catchy lyrics. Yet, this eccentric track sparked a revelation for Lennon, reigniting his creative fire. By 1975, Lennon had stepped away from music, embracing life as a house husband after the birth of his son, Sean. While Yoko Ono took the reins on their business ventures, he retreated from the spotlight, rarely engaging with the era's music. But as punk, disco, and new wave reshaped the cultural landscape, something stirred. It wasn't until 1980, while vacationing in Bermuda, that Lennon heard Rock Lobster booming through a club's speakers. The song's vocal interplay, particularly Cindy Wilson's high-pitched wails, stopped him in his tracks. Why did it feel so familiar? Those wails echoed Yoko Ono's experimental vocalizations, which had long been mocked by critics and fans alike. For years, Yoko faced harsh scrutiny, often blamed for the Beatles' breakup and dismissed as an outsider in pop music. But Rock Lobster changed the narrative. Lennon realized the world was finally catching up to the avant-garde vision he and Yoko had championed since the 1960s. Aha! They finally caught up to what we were trying to do all the time, he said in a 1980 interview, his voice brimming with excitement. The song's playful, boundary-breaking spirit inspired him to declare, "It's time to get out the old axe and wake the wife up." That axe, his guitar, marked the start of a new chapter. This moment led to Double Fantasy, Lennon's final studio album, released in 1980. A deeply personal collaboration with Yoko, it alternated their songs like a conversation between partners, blending themes of love and domesticity with a renewed creative spark. Tracks like Just Like, Starting Over, and Watching the Wheels radiated maturity and rejuvenation, reflecting Lennon's rediscovery of purpose. Rock Lobster didn't just inspire him musically, it validated Yoko's artistry, proving their experimental approach was ahead of its time. Rock Lobster wasn't just a hit, it became a cultural phenomenon. Ranked 147 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time, it launched the B-52s into stardom, influencing fashion, art, and a new wave movement. Its infectious energy and surreal charm made it an anthem, one that still resonates. In 2025, the B-52s continue to captivate, embarking on their Cosmic Evolution Tour with Devo, a nod to their enduring, innovative spirit. Yellow and the B-52s represent two sides of Lennon's musical heart, one rooted in sophisticated craftsmanship, the other in fearless experimentation. Their influence on him wasn't just about sound. It was about pushing boundaries and staying true to one's vision. But Lennon's list of favorites doesn't end here. 3 more bands captured his admiration, each with a story that reveals new layers of his legacy. The spark of inspiration from B-52's wild, unapologetic energy had pulled John Lennon back into the studio. But his musical curiosity didn't stop there. In the vibrant, ever-shifting landscape of rock, Lennon's ear was drawn to bands that dared to redefine the genre. 2 groups stood out in his mind: Led Zeppelin, the titans of raw power, and the Byrds, the architects of folk rock's soulful sound. What was it about these bands that captivated a legend like Lennon? Let's dive into the music that stirred his soul. Picture 1971, Lennon, no longer a Beatle but still a towering figure in music, sat down for an interview and dropped a bombshell. He called Led Zeppelin the best band at the time. From a man who helped craft Sgt. Pepper's, this was no casual compliment. It was a seismic endorsement. By then, Led Zeppelin had unleashed 3 albums that shook the world, with their 4th, Home to Stairway to Heaven, just around the corner. Jimmy Page's blistering guitar riffs, Robert Plant's soaring wails, John Paul Jones's masterful bass and keys, and John Bonham's thunderous drums create a sound that was both primal and transcendent. Could this be the new face of rock? Lennon, a lifelong champion of breaking boundaries, saw in Led Zeppelin a force that shattered conventions. While the Beatles had woven intricate tapestries of sound, Zeppelin carved out a raw, elemental path with their blues-drenched rock. Tracks like Whole Lotta Love pulsed with a gritty intensity, blending heavy riffs with psychedelic flourishes. For Lennon, who was diving into raw, personal solo work, Zeppelin's fearless authenticity was a revelation. Their music wasn't just loud, it was alive, a testament to rock's enduring power to evolve. And in 2025, their legacy burns bright, with a new documentary, Becoming Led Zeppelin, set to hit IMAX screens in February, offering never-before-seen footage of their meteoric rise. But Lennon's heart wasn't bound to one style. Across the Atlantic, another band had caught his attention: The Byrds, whose shimmering folk rock redefined American music. Formed in Los Angeles in 1964, they burst onto the scene with Mr. Tambourine Man, electrifying Bob Dylan's poetic words with Roger McGuinn's jangly 12-string Rickenbacker guitar. The result was a sound that felt both timeless and revolutionary, blending folk's introspective roots with rock's vibrant energy. Lennon, always searching for fresh sounds, was hooked. Did their melodies hold a mirror to his own creative evolution? The connection between the Byrds and the Beatles was electric. While the Byrds drew inspiration from A Hard Day's Night, they soon became influencers in their own right. George Harrison's If I Needed Someone from Rubber Soul carried the unmistakable chime of McGuinn's guitar, a nod Harrison himself admitted. This musical dialogue defined the 1960s, a time when artists pushed each other to new heights. For Lennon, the Byrds weren't just a band. They were innovators who turned folk into something bold and universal, laying the groundwork for an entire genre. As the decade unfolded, both Lennon and the Byrds ventured into uncharted territory. In 1966, the Byrds released 8 Miles High, a track that captured the surreal swirl of a psychedelic experience with its jazz-inflected solos and evocative lyrics. It was a pioneering moment, one of the first songs to define psychedelic rock. Lennon, deep in his own explorations of altered consciousness, likely saw a reflection of his own daring in their work. Their ability to translate the intangible into music without losing poetic depth resonated with his restless creative spirit. The Byrds' journey didn't end there. With albums like Sweetheart of the Rodeo in 1968, they pioneered country rock, weaving Nashville's twang into their signature sound. This fearless reinvention mirrored Lennon's own refusal to be boxed in. Whether it was his experimental work with Yoko Ono or his introspective solo albums, Lennon thrived on pushing limits. The Byrds, with their ever-evolving sound, embodied that same spirit. Their influence stretched far beyond the 1960s, inspiring bands like R.E.M. and Tom Petty, and in 2025, Roger McGuinn continues to perform, sharing their legacy with new audiences. Led Zeppelin and the Byrds, though worlds apart in sound, shared a common thread. They were fearless trailblazers. Lennon, a seeker of truth and emotion, saw in them a reflection of his own drive to redefine music. Zeppelin's raw power and the Byrds' poetic innovation spoke to different sides of his soul, proving that great music transcends genres and generations. But Lennon's list of favorites isn't complete yet. One more band captured his imagination, revealing another layer of his musical legacy. What was it about this final group that earned his rare praise? John Lennon's musical journey was a tapestry woven from diverse threads, each band he admired adding a unique hue to his creative palette. From the orchestral sweep of Electric Light Orchestra to the wild energy of B-52s, from the thunderous riffs of Led Zeppelin to the jangly introspection of the Byrds, Lennon found inspiration in artists who dared to push boundaries. But one final band captured his heart in a way that was both unexpected and profoundly personal. What was it about the Beach Boys that left such a lasting mark on a legend like Lennon? On the surface, the Beach Boys seemed worlds apart from the Beatles. Their sun-soaked anthems of surf and sand evoked a carefree California dream, far removed from the gritty streets of Liverpool. Yet, beneath those shimmering harmonies, Lennon saw something deeper, a musical genius in Brian Wilson, whose innovative spirit mirrored his own. Emerging in the early 1960s with hits like Surfer USA and I Get Around, the Beach Boys quickly rose to fame, but it was their 1966 masterpiece Pet Sounds that redefined what pop music could be. Could a single album change the course of rock history? Pet Sounds was a revelation, a sonic tapestry of intricate harmonies and lush orchestrations that explored love, loss, and longing with raw vulnerability. Tracks like God Only Knows and Caroline No stripped away the bravado of rock, revealing a tender, introspective core. Lennon, who was navigating his own journey toward deeper, more personal songwriting, was captivated. He called Pet Sounds one of his favorite albums, a rare accolade from a man known for his sharp critiques. For Lennon, Wilson's willingness to bare his soul in a genre often defined by swagger was nothing short of revolutionary. The influence of Pet Sounds on the Beatles was seismic. Paul McCartney openly credited the album with inspiring Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, released in 1967, a record that reshaped music history. Lennon, though less vocal, shared this admiration, recognizing in Wilson's work a blueprint for blending emotional depth with sonic innovation. Songs like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and A Day in the Life from Sgt. Pepper echoed the experimental spirit Lennon so admired in Pet Sounds. The album wasn't just music. It was a challenge to push further, to dream bigger. Did it spark a friendly rivalry that elevated both bands? Lennon's connection to the Beach Boys extended far beyond their innovative sound. It was deeply personal, rooted in a profound admiration for Brian Wilson, whom he regarded as a kindred spirit. Both artists grappled with the crushing weight of fame while striving to maintain their creative authenticity, forging a bond to their shared struggles. Brian Wilson's well-documented mental health battles, severe anxiety, depression, and substance abuse, were intensified by the relentless demands of being the creative genius behind the Beach Boys. These pressures led to his retreat from touring in 1964 and a highly publicized breakdown, moments that laid bare his vulnerability. Similarly, John Lennon faced his own torment as a Beatle, wrestling with depression, addiction, and the suffocating scrutiny of the media and fans. The public's expectation for him to remain a flawless cultural icon only deepened his isolation, echoing Wilson's own plight. This mutual experience of vulnerability and resilience likely fueled Lennon's respect for Wilson. He may have seen in Wilson a mirror of his own inner chaos, finding solace in their parallel journeys. Wilson's bravery in crafting Pet Sounds, a groundbreaking album brimming with emotional depth and sonic experimentation, despite his personal turmoil, must have resonated deeply with Lennon. It wasn't just the music. It was a courage to expose one's soul amid adversity, a quality Lennon himself channeled as he pushed artistic boundaries, even under strain. Lennon's admiration wasn't fleeting. Even after the Beatles dissolved in 1970, he continued to reference Wilson's genius in interviews, a nod not only to his musical innovation, but to his perseverance. The influence of Pet Sounds lingered in Lennon's solo work, particularly in albums like John Lennon / Plastic Ono Band, 1970, where raw emotion and introspection took center stage. The album's stark honesty and experimental edge reflect the same vulnerability Wilson pioneered, suggesting a lasting creative imprint. Their connection transcended fandom. It was a recognition of shared humanity, two artists navigating fame's storm and emerging, battered but unbroken, through their art. The five bands Lennon cherished, Yellow, the B-52s, Led Zeppelin, the Byrds, and the Beach Boys, each reflected a facet of his restless creativity. Yellow's orchestral ambition, the B-52s' fearless eccentricity, Led Zeppelin's raw power, the Byrds' poetic folk rock, and the Beach Boys' emotional depth formed a mosaic of influences that shaped his work. Together, they tell a story of an artist who never stopped seeking new sounds, new truths. In 2025, the Beach Boys' legacy continues, with recent tributes following Brian Wilson's passing at 82 in June, underscoring the timelessness of their music, as noted in outlets like Rolling Stone and The Guardian. These bands were more than inspirations. They were part of a transatlantic dialogue that defined the 1960s and beyond. The Beatles, as cultural giants, influenced countless artists, but Lennon's admiration for these groups reveals his humility and openness to learning from others. Each band pushed him to evolve, from the psychedelic explorations of Revolver to raw honesty of Plastic Ono Band. Their impact lingers in today's music, from indie bands echoing the Byrds to pop artists drawing on the Beach Boys' harmonic legacy. And speaking of enduring legacies, let's turn to Paul McCartney, a central figure in this story, whose financial success mirrors his musical triumphs. As of 2025, McCartney's net worth is estimated at $1.2 billion, making him one of the world's richest musicians. His wealth stems from Beatles royalties, solo tours like the Got Back Tour, and savvy investments. He owns a $20 million Hamptons estate, an $18.5 million New York City penthouse, and a $10 million London home, alongside a car collection featuring a vintage Aston Martin DB5, a Bentley Arnage, and a Rolls-Royce Phantom. While his watch collection remains private, high-end brands like Rolex are likely in his possession. From orchestral dreams to raw riffs, each band shaped his art and soul, proving music's power to transcend time. If this journey stirred your heart, hit that like button, share your favorite band in the comments, and subscribe for more untold music stories. Next, we'll uncover the muses behind icons like Dylan and Bowie, Don't miss it. Lennon's legacy reminds us, great music lives forever, sparking new dreams in every note. What's your favorite Lennon-inspired song? Drop it below and keep a spirit alive.